WLIR 92.7 on your FM dial, Garden City, Long Island. Oh my God! Gadzooks, I am sure. Like, Ben Manilla, bag those toenails. They're like grody to the max.
First of all, Frank, I have to say congratulations on the success of your new album, Ship Arriving Too Late to Save a Drowning Witch.
Well, I don't think anybody really gives a shit about the album, but they are pretty thrilled about Valley Girl.
Well, how do you feel about that? The last time we spoke, you were pretty down on the state of radio in America and kind of bitter towards the fact that you were making great records, but very few radio stations other than WLIR were picking up on those records, and now Valley Girl's being played all over the country. How do you feel about that?
If you only knew what it took to get it played all over the country, you wouldn't ask.
What did it take?
A lot of trouble.
How so? I mean, just harassing people and just making them aware of it?
Well, you understand that we have an independent label. We have a pressing and distribution agreement with Columbia Records. And that means that we have to take care of all of our own promotion. And we only have a few people who actually do this work. And so in order to get that record played all over the place, the few people had to do an enormous amount of work. And the work isn't over yet. I mean, it's crazy what we had to do with this record. But at least it's getting some acceptance and people are listening to it and enjoying it. And Moon's very happy about it, so I'm glad.
Good. How do you feel about did you expect to get such a response from the Valley Girl song?
No.
What was your original motivation for doing that song? Just kind of as a goof or what?
Well, the true story of the Valley Girl song goes like this. The lyrics for the main part of the tune were written on the road sometime last year. And then the basic track, which was just drums and guitar, was recorded for a joke about 3 o'clock in the morning after we had done some other stuff. I was doing drum overdubs, and Chad was here, and I had my guitar, and we just played this little rock and roll jam session track. And eventually that became the track for Valley Girl. And then the lyrics that the male voices are singing were added at the end of a session when we were doing a bunch of other tunes. And I just got out this track that Chad and I had done and said, well, why don't we sing these words on top of this track, and made up the tune in the studio. And we did that part of it in about 2 hours. And then Moon had always been asking when does she get to be on a record. So one day after school I said, come on in and you can do some Valley talk on this song because it seems like it would be the right thing for it. So she did 2 sessions on that, each one an hour or 45 minutes, on one day and one on another day, and then we took the best parts of the things that she improvised and hooked it together to make the continuous rap that's on there. And then the last thing that was added was the bass part. And the whole thing was finished.
And it's ID time again. This is Frank Zappa, and you're listening to Ben Manilla on WLIR FM at 92.7.
How was your trip to Europe?
Well, let's see. It was my last European tour because it's getting too hard to tour over there. So we spent 3 months wandering as far east as Vienna, as far north as Oslo, as far west as London, and as far south as Palermo. So we pretty well covered the whole continent over there. And the last concert in Palermo, there was a big riot because the cops shot some tear gas into the audience. Unfortunately, some people in the audience had guns, and there was a gunfight going on outside of the stadium between the cops and the audience. So that wasn't too fun.
That's pretty heavy duty. They take their concerts seriously in Italy, I guess.
Well, Sicily, you know, it's a world apart.
If possible, let me ask you a few of these questions that folks have called up with.
Okay.
Frank Zappa's with us. We're WLIR. The first question comes from Westbury. Do you really use drugs?
No, I don't use any drugs. What a fascinating question.
The second question is, would you ever consider releasing baby snakes on video?
Yes, I would consider it.
Question 3 comes from Floral Park. When will you be in New York, and will you be around for New Year's Eve?
Next time I'll be in New York is when we come in to do the David Letterman show around the 8th of August. That's just for a day. And then as far as New Year's Eve goes, probably not, because we just got a letter from Pierre Boulez, and they've announced the performance date of the piece that I wrote for his orchestra in Paris to be January the 9th, so I'll probably be in Paris at that time.
That's amazing. When did you write a piece for Pierre Boulez?
He commissioned it about 2 years ago, and I finished it just before the tour, and they scheduled it. He's going to conduct it.
Is there going to be any sort of recording made available after that?
Bennett has to work something out with CBS, because he's a CBS artist also, and if they agree to record it, then it'll be available, but otherwise it's just going to be that one performance.
Let's get back to these listener questions. Is Moon Zappa going to tour with you this year?
I don't plan on touring in the United States this year. And she did one appearance with us in Europe because my family was with me for about 2 weeks. They were on vacation over there in the middle of the tour. Dweezil performed on the guitar in London, Zurich, Munich, and Vienna, and Moon did something on stage with us in Munich.
That answers both.
We don't have anything planned for the United States.
That answers both the questions from Greenwich. The woman also wanted to know if Dweezil was into music. Let's move on to a question from Merrick. Whatever happened to Crush All Boxes?
Oh, that was just a title that was going to be used for an album, and eventually I think that one became Tinseltown Rebellion.
Okay, a question from Baldwin. Why was The Token of My Extreme never put on TV or made available to the public?
It was made available to the public, just the people who run television didn't want to show it because it didn't have any stars in it. When we originally sent the finished special to the networks and various syndication places, they weren't interested because they said that there were no stars in the show, and what they were really looking for was something like Elton John dancing with Cher, something really that the people could enjoy. So it never got out.
A question for Frank Zappa from Armonk. I'll paraphrase it a bit because it's a long one. Are you aware of the band Grupo Sportivo, in particular their song Superman, which has an introduction that the first line is one of your lines? Do you have anything to do with this Dutch band, and are you aware of their existence?
I'm aware of their existence. I'm aware of the fact that they got a publishing license to use that part of the music. I've never heard the song or seen the group, and I don't have anything to do with them.
Okay, a question from Bayshore. What's the possibility of reissuing Early Mothers albums?
Very good, because the lawsuit that was keeping them in the closet all these years has finally been settled, and as soon as I can get around to it, I'm going to remaster all of those early albums, and in the case of the Side 4 of the Freak Out album, Son of Monster Magnet, when that was originally released, it was unfinished, and before it goes out again, I'm going to finish it off. So the new release of the Freak Out album is going to be a little bit more like what it was intended to be.
A question from Darien, Connecticut for Frank Zappa on LIR. What are your favorite bands at the moment, and do Frank or your daughter have a fan club?
As far as favorite bands, I'm not much of a consumer of pop music, but I have heard some songs that I like, and I like Genius of Love by Tom Tom Club, and one or two other things that I might hear occasionally, but I don't have a favorite group. And as far as the fan club goes, no, we don't have a fan club.
Last question comes from New Canaan, Connecticut. How do you feel about people bootlegging your music?
I wish they would die. A very horrible and sickening death.
Thank you very much, Frank Zappa. It's wonderful to talk to you again.
I can understand that.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too.
Monday night, dance contest night, US contest. I'm going to give away peanut butter jelly bologna sandwiches for all of you.